Hello, everyone. This is episode 4 spoiler review of The Mandalorian. Episode 4 Sanctuary. So, this episode starts with a bunch of krill farmers and they're being attacked by bandits. And it's very high intense. I love the scene. This was a really good scene. And it kind of gives more context into the Star Wars because we never seen a backwater planet, and this planet, as you can see on the show, basically there's little technology. People are live very primitive lives, very simple lives, because they do not have the wealth, the technology to do otherwise. So they basically have to be everyone's bitch who has more advanced technology compared to them. So okay, so we go back to Mando and Baby Yoda, who are now on the run because Baby Yoda's a bounty with tracking fobs and whatnot. That will become very important later on. So, and the Baby Yoda. Okay, in the first scene, he's like a cat. He just touches everything. He just don't touch everything. Does it again like a cat leg. You tell a cat no, and then it just knocks down the glass of water and breaks the glass. It's like, okay, so. Yeah, I love the part where basically he basically called him a little womp rat. That was cute. That was adorable. 10 points to Mando with no name. I got that reference. I didn't put a Captain America out there. Oh well. So yeah. So they go find this backwater planet. Hopefully they can basically escape. They want to get spotted. That is the plan. So go to the backwater planet. You don't get discovered. We can probably hide out. Unfortunately, someone else is doing the same thing, and this is Cardoon. Now, Cardoon is an ex-shock trooper, and she gets in a fight with Mando. I will explain Cardoon later because she deserves her own little discussion section. But see, as of right now, she is kind of equal to Mando. They get in a fight. Baby Yoda just looks at him, shipping the cup of bone broth. And they kind of they probably just go, They call a truce at the end of it. I will go over the fight later on. Now, as for the plot for this episode, the farmers we saw earlier that are being robbed by the bandits. Okay, well, it's easier just to no. Where's the... Yes. So, basically, this episode is basically the Seven Samurai in the Magnificent Seven, which is basically the same thing. So, this series has gone back to the original influence of Star Wars. Now, Star Wars was influenced by the Hidden Fortress. I forgot the name of the director, but Akira Kurosawa. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But he was pretty huge influence with the Hidden Fortress, inspiring the first episode of Star Wars. And now another Kurosawa work has made it into this episode. And this episode, and as we know, the series was inspired by Wolf and Cub, which is a manga series I did read a little bit of. It's kind of episodic at the beginning, but I'm pretty sure if I read on, I'll get the whole backstory between Wolf and Cub. So I am doing that for research, but I will get it more into this because there will be more relevant topics from this, and later on in like I said last video, the Mandalorian seems to be following the hero's journey pretty tightly, and there is another throwback in here from the Seven Samurai and the Magnificent Seven that I'll talk about later. So in the bar we get to see a little cat. That was a good Easter egg. I love little cat. Would not have one as a pet because they're bigger assholes than our cats. Okay, so he's hired by the village to defend the village. And the topic gets up, do you take it off? And he goes, no. And he goes, like, yesterday. So the whole thing about the helmet is basically it's kind of a mantle. It's a way of life, and basically you take it off, you give up being a Mandalorian, and so that seems to be the current code of the Mandalorians at this time, which kind of contradicts Rebels, but we don't know everything, and if the code has changed from Rebels, because there was the Purge. The Purge was after Rebels, so we have to see about that, what happened. Because so far, being peaceful Mandalorians, being pacifists, has not worked for the Mandalorians. It seems being under this warrior culture has helped the Mandalorians survive, unfortunately. So yeah, he gets flirty with the widow, and the widow, for some reason, so like Seven Samurai. Okay, yeah. No, that's not it. No, that's not it. Where's the button for it? Okay, whatever. Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah, so Cardoon and the Mandalorian have to basically invade enemy camp, do lured into a trap. I think this was a good episode, and kind of adds more lore to the Star Wars universe, because, well, as we see in episode 6 of Return of the Jedi, the Walker is kind of funny, but in the lore, the Walker is pretty devastating, pretty heavily armored. It's not something you can easily take out. Like, you've seen the big camel walkers in episode 5. They're pretty hard to take down, even with missiles and stuff. So heavily armored, they'll be wiped out. So pretty good armored vehicle. So they're like, we gotta get out of the farmers want to fight, like in the original, the original Seven Samurai. They're like, okay, we'll train you. Go through montage, yada yada yada. Okay, get to the fight scene. I kind of liked this fight scene. It had good stakes. So it had a little bit of unbelievable moments with the training and whatnot, but they made it. It's like it was a high stakes game, and they made sure that, yeah, they were very lucky. There was tactics, which I loved in this episode. So this episode is not too big of disbelief. Okay, let's see. So, okay, oops. Okay, so the widow wants Mando to stay, and Mando kind of wants to stay. She almost takes off his helmet, but unfortunately, the reality is that he is a marked man. Mando is a marked man. He basically, the outside world of chaos and roughness and darkness, he is a part of that. He can't go back. And they had the same thing. This is a throwback to Seven Samurai and the Magnificent Seven. I know in the Magnificent Seven, I think one person had decided to live with the villagers, but he had to give up being a cowboy, being a Ronin, so it's the same thing for the Mandalorian. You know, he takes off his helmet. That's it. He has to give up the life, but he can't give up the life because people are still tracking him. The world that is evil, that is dark, will come to this place and will ruin this place. So, to help the sanctuary, the village, he has to leave, because it's the only way to keep the village safe. And that's the tragedy of it. Okay, now we're going to talk about Cardoon. I think because some of the Phantom Menace, which I mentioned in episode 2 review. So Ethan Skyver is kind of scared that there is entryism into the Mandalorian, because and it is merited. This is a tactic called entryism, which basically, and I know in media, and this also works with political organizations too, that will the radicals, the radical left, basically, they go in, they basically they get into positions and powers, they shut up. And then when they get into positions and powers, they basically are disruptors. They get in, they start slowly corrupting whatever organization they're part of. And this has happened in media. This has happened with it's basically HW infiltration, and he's kind of worried about the Cardoon situation. Like, is he basically medicine covered in sugar? Is the best method I can say about it. But infiltration, and I think it's like people have been wondering what has he been smoking shit? What has he been smoking? And like, no, he's not smoking anything. His fear is valid, and we have not seen the Mandalorian go down. It could go down because it's like you take something you love, then you destroy it, and that's what the SJWs have been doing with Star Wars, with with other stuff. They did it with Marvel. They really waited until everything was good, but they're gonna do it with Marvel. Unfortunately, I can see it. I hope with Captain Marvel. I think you all know my opinion of that. I had faith with Kevin Feige, and Kevin Feige could do it right, but after Captain Marvel, I'm sketchy, very sketchy. So we'll have to see. Hopefully Mando doesn't go down and piss us all off. Now, with the Cardoon fight, Cardoon got the upper hand on Mando, which to me, to be honest, a lot of people get the upper hand on Mando. Unfortunately, it just happens. I mean, he got the Blur got him. Was it IG-11 got him? The Jawas got him. And yeah, and they are not even elite. Cardoon, however, she is elite. She's a ex-Imperial shock trooper. Now, according to the lore, the shock troopers are basically Black Ops. They're the equivalent in our universe to, in the United States, there's something called the Green Berets, which are special forces, and like the trending has not changed since the Clone Wars, and like they even inspired the current name for the Stormtroopers. So they're pretty renowned and they are pretty elite soldiers. And she's an ex-shock trooper, so special forces. So yeah. Now, as for the training from Mando, Mando's been training since he's been 7, if we go by the Mandalorian lore. He may be 8, he may be young, but still, I mean, I think for me, Mando's more of a weapon specialist than he is urban fighter, and that is what the shock troopers are trained to do. They're trained from urban fighting. They're trained for guerrilla warfare. They're trained for anti-terrorism and terrorism. Very urban combat oriented. And I was watching the fight, and basically she hid with the angle where the sun hits her eye, and she hid directly into that part where you look at the sun in order to see her. So she did have the advantage in the first seconds of the fight. Now, what's kind of a little bit unbelievable, even though she is a UFC fighter and she's legit, she was pretty huge in her day, in her reputation. So everything she does is very believable. Now, what is not believable is she punches the Beskar steel and she doesn't feel a thing. I mean, I don't think the shock troopers did the same thing as the KGB. That might be my opinion, where the KGB, they basically numb you to pain. So it would be kind of believable if the shock troopers did the same thing, but I'm not sure the shock troopers did the same thing. So that's kind of a gap in logic and in lore. But if you look at the fight, Cardoon, even though she had the upper hand in the first few seconds of the combat fight, Mando was changing, he was turning it around, because in a fight, you want to end things quickly. And Cardoon kind of failed to do that. She failed to do a proper execution and dispose of Mando. So Mando, even though he was getting good, he was getting beat up pretty badly. He was turning the fight around. It's kind of more of an equal grounding fight. So I don't know what the big deal is, but I'm someone who understands fighting. I understand a little bit about martial arts, and like the one who wins is it's either you finish it in the first few seconds, or you have to finish it. It's a test of endurance. But Baby Yoda kind of ended it, and they kind of call him true. So I think they're kind of equal in footing, and this does not violate the lore, so which is very good. But so that's my rant on episode 4. Good night.